I was lucky enough, I applied and I got to go with four essentially of my best friends, and we all got in together to go to a place called Roburn, which is 30 minutes from Karratha, which is up north. And those 2 weeks was probably the best 2 weeks of dental school, treating the Indigenous population there. And also, while I was up there, I got to really just enjoy it and then kind of look at what life is like, you know, in those kind of remote areas, and how beautiful
the real Australia out there.
Yeah.
It's so different.
It seems like it's like a movie.
All right, g'day. Welcome to the Choosing Your Uni podcast. I'm your host, Rob Malicki, coming to you today from Whadjuk Noongar country in Perth in Western Australia. And it's a glorious day in Perth. This is the season, it's November when we're filming, where Perth just comes alive. It's glorious. And my guest today, Peter Nguyen, who's studying dentistry at the University of Western Australia. Peter, great to have you joining me on the Choosing Your Uni podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate you. Let me be on this platform, and I'm excited to share my story.
And maybe to kick us off, we are in Perth, but you shouldn't be here at all, should you? Because you're not from here.
Yeah, I'm actually from Melbourne originally. A bit random that I spent the last 4 years over here in the beautiful Perth, WA. Yeah, studying dentistry. So it's been quite the journey. Unexpected. It wasn't really in my original plans, but I'm so happy that I'm here. I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly. The experiences that I've got over in Perth, and you know, the degree that I'll hopefully have by the end of the year. Yeah.
So how did you end up here?
Back in undergrad, I was studying the Bachelor of Science. Straight out of high school, I tried to get into dentistry because that was always my goal. As a young, like year 11, year 12, I decided I wanted to get into dentistry, but it's quite competitive over East in Melbourne. And then there's not many spots to get in straight out of high school. So I did a degree at the University of Melbourne, Bachelor of Science. Yeah, with the goal in mind of getting into dentistry after those 3 years. And then, honestly, I got to tell you, those 3 years, until I got my dentistry offer, I wasn't sleeping well at night because I have fairly strict parents as well, and they wanted me to make sure my future was set, and they were pushing me to, you know, they weren't pushing me into depression, but they knew how difficult it was to get in, so they were quite strict on, you know, whether I was studying and everything like that, and where my future was heading. So I was quite stressed out over those 3 years. But once I got my offer, so I originally got offers for dentistry in Sydney and Melbourne, but they were full fee offers, so that's $400,000 a year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Can I just break that down for people who are listening who might not know? So there's a difference between having a Commonwealth Supported Place where a lot of your tuition is paid for by Australian government, and being a full fee student where you literally pay the full cost of tuition. We've actually got a whole podcast on that topic, and so I'll drop that into the show notes if you want to find out what that's about. So sorry to interrupt you, mate.
No,
so you got a few full fee offers.
Yeah, so I got my first offer in Sydney. That was in around September, and I was like over the moon. Obviously not ideal, but at least I knew I was going to be in the program at least. And then I got an late offer from Melbourne in December. I was happy I could get to stay at home. But then I think only a few days later, I got an email from, after I was playing a basketball match, and then I finished the basketball match. I got this email from the University of Western Australia, and because they'd already waitlisted me, but then they got back to me saying they'd offered me a Commonwealth Supported Place.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And the thing is, at that point, I was really confused because, to be honest, I'd never heard of, even contemplated moving to Perth, really. I just kind of applied because there's only 3 postgraduate programs for dentistry in Australia. But yeah, and then they waitlisted me, so I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, I didn't really intend on going there anyway. And then when they offered me the Commonwealth supported spot, yeah, I really had to, think about it. And that was probably the best option for me, because if I guess it's on HEX, it's 40,000 rather than $300,000. I could live here, live alone and save money, that kind of thing. Even with a combination of everything, you'd still be saving money. And I think at first I didn't really know whether I wanted to take it, because it's a bit daunting, kind of moving away from home to a place that you not really familiar with. Yeah, I took the chance, and I'm so happy I did.
Before we get on to talking what it's like to be here, because I can't wait to hear about that. Also, I'm keen to talk about your content, man. And as we've been talking before we started recording, I love the content that you've created. Can you take me inside that decision, that moment where, you're weighing up your options, staying in Melbourne, moving to the other side of the country, and the moment where you kind of went, yeah, I'm going to do this. Do you remember that moment?
It was a lot of factors, because I had a partner as well at that point, and so our parents were I think they wanted me to stay in Melbourne. But my mum really wanted me to stay in Melbourne, but my dad was like, you can just go off the nest. But yeah, the moment when I decided I was going to go, I think it was more when you get a Commonwealth supported space, Commonwealth supported offer, you kind of have to take it in comparison to the other two. So yeah, I think there wasn't really a moment that I knew I was going to have to take it, but it was more just when you weigh up the options, you think of it in a measured, logical way. Yeah, it's probably the best option to take.
One of the things that I really got from looking at your content, and I connected with you over Instagram because you're doing some really cool stuff around dentistry, but like you really talk about how you found your people here. Can you tell me about that journey, like of actually landing in a new city? You haven't been here before.
For sure. Yeah.
To where you are now. Talk me through it.
Of course. I was at a point when I was in Melbourne after the 3 years of undergrad, even though I was stressed out, and I had a really, really good core group of friends, and I'd also kind of built, my social circle, and I was quite comfortable. And so the prospect of kind of leaving that behind and leaving behind all like the kind of connections that I'd made in order to start all over again was a bit daunting for me. But then it also did like kind of excite me in a sense, like kind of gave me a challenge and really made me think about, how I can continue, like rebuild that connection, how I can maybe rebuild my own kind of persona, or like, continue to prove myself in a different city where I'm not as comfortable. And that's been a really good journey. And I think it did take a bit of time. Like when I was really, really comfortable with where I was at and like kind of my reputation and like who I was in Melbourne. And then moving over here when you kind of know no one, you kind of have to prove yourself all over again with new people. And I guess I did make some mistakes in terms of, you kind of just latch on to whoever is going to give you attention over at the start over in Perth. But I think eventually I kind of found a really good group of friends, and now I have an amazing set of connections both in Melbourne and in Perth that I can rely on. So I'm really grateful for that. And whoever's welcomed me with open arms, both here in Melbourne.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about what it's like to study dentistry.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to the dentist.
Oh, yeah. No one really likes going to the dentist if we're honest.
I've got a great dentist. I think the guy is absolutely freaking amazing.
Amazing.
And I mean, compared to my first dentist when I was a kid growing up, you see the difference between like old school dentistry and like the kind of new way of doing things. Yeah. Obviously, technology's changed a lot too. But for somebody who's like thinking about, going into this field, what's it really like under the hood?
I think you're right in terms of it has evolved a lot, the dental profession. I think previously it was this kind of place where it was quite a scary place for both the dentist and the patient. But I think we're working really hard, the field in general, to, make it more accessible and make it a more enjoyable experience for the patient, because we understand the stigma around the profession. And I think it's a really exciting field in terms of how we're able to start to marry like the technological side of things, AI and all that, what it can do for dental technology. And really implement that in a way that can really, I think it's really accelerating the profession in more ways than I thought. Like, things like, it gets a bit technical, but things like intraoral scanners.
But hit us with the details. Because once again, like the people who'll listen to this, or the parents who'll listen to it and think this is great for their kids, give us the detail, man.
Yeah, of course.
That's cool.
Yeah, because back in the day, it would just be like impossible. Like, you'd lose a tooth and then, you had to get the tooth taken out and then you'll just have to wear denture. Whereas now there's new things like implants are getting way better. So, you have a tooth that's not relying on other teeth. I guess that's a bad way of putting it, but yeah, like technology has gotten to a point where I think it's just a much more enjoyable experience for the patient. And even things like the scanners, you used to do this thing called you have to get molds taken of your teeth with AI and the scanners technology, and just scan your teeth and they have a 3D kind of model of your mouth, which is awesome.
I did that recently and that was actually blew my mind. Yeah, the dentist.
It's awesome. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess that's what's really exciting about the profession. It's always ever evolving, and as technology improves, it's only going to get better. Things like crowns and onlays and implants and all these things are really, really improving.
How soon do you get into the practical side of things once you start dentistry? Is it a lot of theory to begin with, or, anatomy and things like that? Or are you just also getting straight into the practical pretty quickly?
For our course specifically, it kind of differs throughout the unis, but for our course, the first year was purely theoretical. I think now it's changed. The new dental students, they get some practicals in first year as well, but for us it was all anatomy. So learning all about the nerves that innervate, certain teeth and everything. Then once we kind of got to a stage where the school's comfortable with how much we know theoretically wise, we start to do things on dummy models, and we start to build our hand skills. Because dentistry is quite a technical profession. You have to be quite theoretically gifted, not gifted, but theoretically well versed, and then also practically your hand skills have to be really good as well. It's your brain and your hands have to be really, really good. Once you've got the theory down pat, they start to teach us the practicals, and then once they're comfortable with where we're at on the dummy models, we can start working on live patients, real patients, and treating the community. Yeah,
that's kind of cool, because you balance these two sides of. I always think that's almost the ultimate goal is to have a job where you get to do something with your hands or with your body, but you also get to work your mind.
Absolutely. And that's probably a major reason why I entered the profession, because actually my dad is a dentist. Asking him, like, should I do dentistry, he was pretty hesitant. He said it's a tough gig. Kind of the similar reason that we said, where it's like your brain is really, really like just like on the whole time you're seeing patients, and also your body, especially back in his day. I guess this is another thing with technology. You didn't have these things called loupes now, which are like these glasses that you can kind of zoom into the teeth, and that really helps with your posture. But back in his day, he never used those loupes, those glasses. So
so he was just like
he's bending over, and his back is like absolutely cooked, and he wants me to massage him like every day essentially when I'm back home, and he's always complaining about it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. So my brothers are doing that for him, my mum's doing that for him. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very physically and emotionally and like mentally demanding profession. But I think that's what I think is also the beauty of it. I think like at the end of the day, at the end of my career in my life, if I look back, I think I'd be grateful that I went into a profession that was like this, where I got to utilize all these aspects and really like fulfill that kind of potential for myself.
Is there also sort of an element of psychology to it? Just as you're talking, I'm sort of thinking about, the reason I love my dentist so much is he sizes me up as I come in. He kind of can judge my mood and puts me at ease.
Yeah.
He can kind of read what's going on. He's always explaining.
Yeah. And that's kind of a soft skill that's definitely underrated. I guess now that I've been at dental school for so long, I've been focusing on the technical aspects and the all the theory, I guess, and all the specific aspects of like cutting a crown or doing a really perfect filling. But at the end of the day, when I used to assist as a dental assistant, and the most important thing is how your patient feels. You can do like clinically, you don't have to be like you don't have to have like the best feeling in the world or the most amazing crown. That's nice. But does your patient feel comfortable in the chair? Does your patient trust you? Because at the end of the day, you're doing something that's quite vulnerable. You're opening your mouth up, and you want to feel like this person's taking care of you. And if you can't portray that through like your kind of soft skills, your communication, then as a dentist, you're hard done by. You're not really. It's quite difficult. So yeah, exactly right. It's good that you've picked it up. That the communication skills as a dentist is so important, as well as the technical and clinical skills as well.
Outside of the people that you've met here, what have you enjoyed most about moving to WA?
I have to say a couple of things. For me, because I haven't really lived away from home before, so I've really enjoyed that experience of like independence and kind of getting to know myself. Just that's probably a big thing for me, and learning how to navigate what I enjoy doing in my spare time, how I like to structure my life, and doing chores and stuff, that kind of thing. But it's kind of made me a lot more also appreciative of my parents and how much they've given me, because now that I'm doing all this stuff by myself, it's a lot of work, but it's good work. But I'm doing it for myself, and I'm flat out, so I can't imagine my mum doing this for me and both my brothers as well, and my dad. So it's a lot. But yeah, I guess also on top of that, for Perth specifically, I love the weather, because coming from Melbourne, I didn't realise how terrible the weather was until I moved over here. And I think I didn't realise I had it, but I have seasonal depression. So it's like when you wake up it's sunny, and I open the blinds and sunny, it's instantly my mood's lifted. Whereas in Melbourne, I didn't notice, but when I open the blinds and it's grey, you kind of just want to go to like uni or work that little bit less, and it's a tiny thing, but I think it's important. But yeah, and also that the beaches here are amazing, and the people are laid back, and the vibe is really, really good.
Melbourne v Perth. So like, what kicks butt about Melbourne and what kicks butt about Perth? So if somebody were tossing up between like Uni of Melbourne, UWA, just in terms of the two cities, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Melbourne, the good thing about Melbourne is it's so vibrant and things are open past like
6 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I need to do like a grocery run or something on a Saturday, like I just want like, I don't know, some chicken or something, but I have to wait till like Sunday at 11 a.m. until it opens. That's kind of annoying about Perth. But then again, the Perth beaches are like incredible. They are phenomenal. Like it's like, and they're like so close to the city. Whereas in Melbourne, to get to a decent beach, you're driving like 2-3 hours. And then St Kilda, as much as awesome as it is as an area, that beach is not. I love this. The city of Melbourne is a lot bigger. I think Perth is kind of lacking in that it's not really a city-centered thing. So if you're a city person, I mean, I think I am a city person as well, but you wouldn't expect too much from Perth City, especially like, it's a bit dead, I would say. Whereas Melbourne, it's vibrant. Whenever I go back to Melbourne, nightlife, it's a lot better. Yeah, that's probably my biggest takeaway. The food is quite similar. I think Melbourne is a bit more options, I think. And I guess maybe Melbourne there's a lot more people in Melbourne, so you kind of blend in. Whereas I think even I've only been here 4 years, but I feel it feels like everyone kind of knows each other, or they're like one or two people away from knowing each other, which is good and bad depending on, your reputation and stuff. But,
I've just heard the expression on this trip, personalities.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a funny thing, right? Yeah, awesome. Like people who break out in Perth.
Yeah.
Have you done much travel over here?
Yeah, I've been quite lucky. I think that's another thing, that Melbourne is probably easier to get around without a car, whereas I was living without a car for my first 2 years. And in a sense, that was good in me. Like, even though I have to ask my mates for lifts, it's a really good opportunity it was a really good opportunity for me to like get to know people as they're driving me around. It's a good conversation. But yeah, having my own cars opened doors for me in terms of, just exploring. We've gone up north a little bit, so not super. I actually had a rural rotation recently up in Roebourne, and that was incredible. Yeah, so up near Karratha, Roebourne area. And then we go on some road trips, like the boys will go on a road trip. The dentistry friends will, like Jurien Bay, Lancelin, and then we go down south as well, some Margaret River, Bustleton, even Albany. So yeah, these are, I guess I have, when I have travelled a lot. It's the nature side of things in Perth is incredible. Like I can't fault it. It's so good.
You just opened the door on placements.
Yeah.
Can you tell me on rural placements to make? Like, unpack that a little bit for somebody who has no idea what the heck that is.
Of course. I'm glad I get the opportunity to talk about this. So we we used to not really have placements, like especially like rural placements. But it's a doctor, his name's Dr. Patel. He really frontlined this program where he would send us out to like quite remote rural areas. And one of those, I was lucky enough, I applied and I got to go with 4 essentially of my best friends, and we all got in together to go to a place called Roebourne, which is 30 minutes from Karratha, which is up north. And those 2 weeks was probably the best 2 weeks of dental school, treating the Indigenous population there. And also, while I was up there, I got to really just enjoy it and then kind of look at what life is like, in those kind of remote areas, and how beautiful
the real Australia out there.
Yeah.
It's so different.
It seems like it's like a movie or something, But yeah, I was really grateful for that opportunity.
I can see it's a fit. Like you're glowing about it, mate.
Yeah.
Like I can see it's like, maybe it's that thing of giving back as well. Yeah. It's like the experience, but it's also giving back.
Yeah, and I think it also probably because on that, giving back. I'm really like, it's not the usual kind of like patients that we'll get like at the old health centre, and I felt like the patients were a lot more grateful because there's not many dentists who go up there, so they were really grateful for like the service that we were providing. And on top of that, it was just such an incredible experience because even the supervisor we were with was absolutely amazing, Dr. Grady and Dr. Blake, and then my mates Jim. We became like brothers on that trip. I can't recommend it enough. So
out of curiosity, do you have to pay for that kind of experience when you go? Do you get paid? Like, what's the actual
thing? No, we got $300 to use each, and then we didn't have to pay, and we got like put into this like brand new house, which was super grateful. I know that. Yeah.
Awesome. What about UWA? So once again, like you've come over from over the east side, landed at UWA, amazing institution. Like would I say? I'd say it's my favourite campus in Australia.
Yeah.
Big call. That is amazing.
Yeah, especially because you've been to all the campuses.
All of them. But it's just an extraordinary place.
I have to agree. When I was studying at Melbourne Uni, and this is like the top uni in Australia, like generally, like there's a lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is one of the top unis of Australia. Because it's in the city, so it's a bit smaller. I love like the experience I got there, but as the campus itself, it's a weird mix of like modern and like kind of cramming this like modern architecture and old architecture. And I don't know if it does it quite well. Whereas at UWA, it's just so beautiful, and it's a bit further away from the city. They have a bit more land to work with, and it's it just looks amazing. There's so much greenery, and it's so close to like Matilda Bay, which is like a body of water. You just walk over. It's pristine, honestly. Yeah.
So outside of the dentistry side of stuff, what about like vibe at UWA? Student life, other things you get involved in? Or is dentistry like just too time consuming?
Yes, I guess for me, I'd say it should be time consuming, but I get a bit bored sometimes. So that's why I do kind of like doing like content creation.
I can't wait to talk content. It's going to be good.
Yes, I guess for me, I'd already started kind of wanting to like get into that space. I always had a interest in like graphic design and video editing even before I got into dentistry. I don't know, to me, if I could figure out a way to kind of marry both of those kind of things that I love, like dentistry and content creation, that would be like an ideal kind of situation for me. And so I guess while I was doing the dental degree, I would try to just find ways to also create content about it, because it is quite a unique field, that situation I'm in, where I'm a student, but I also really like the editing and stuff. And so yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. So when there's downtime or there's not much assessments going on, you'll find me just editing or trying to like find ways of new content and such.
I'm going to drop your Instagram handle into the show notes because it's really worth a look. And this is how I came across you. I was like looking for people in Perth who are doing interesting stuff with content about uni.
It's worked, yeah.
And I found it, right? It's cool because it's niche. Like, it's obviously about dentistry, but your quality is really good. Like, that was the thing that struck me, is like really nice production. I got to ask you, so the last one that I saw was Slumdog Drillionaire, which I just told you before we started recording. I was just like, hats off, mate. That was such a great. And you should tell me about that content project.
So every year at the end of the graduating cohort, they'll make a video for like just to play at the end of year ball. Like, I guess my friends and stuff and the cohort knows that I do a bit of video editing, so that was kind of the role was assumed onto me. I didn't want to let them down. So
no pressure.
Yeah. I essentially planned, scripted, and edited it. It was like a love project for me, like a passion project. I wanted to make sure it was an interesting, like, it had not just like, it wasn't just inside jokes of like the fourth years, but it also had like a storyline, a plot. And even if you weren't like studying dentistry, at least you could kind of understand what was going on. And also wanted to incorporate as many people as possible. Yeah, that was a huge project for me. It was so much, I loved it, but it was so much editing. I think I spent like months and months just editing and then filming and then refilming and then like scripting as well. But on the ball night when we showed it, it was so gratifying seeing everyone's reaction. And
people would have melted down for that night.
So I think the reaction was really, really good, and people enjoyed it. People still come up to me. I'm just so glad they enjoyed it, because it took a lot of blood, sweat and tears, I guess. And even like getting the supervisors and the tutors and the staff in as well, so everyone was kind of involved. But yeah.
The other thing I noticed about your channel is like you kind of got this good blend. Like, it's definitely educational in some ways. You know, like I was looking at your teeth whitening one yesterday, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating. But it's also done in quite a easy to consume sort of way. It's very short. As I say, production is beautiful. What advice would you have to somebody? Let's just put the dentistry thing aside. Let's, like, on content. Somebody's kind of keen to get into some content. What advice would you give them about where to start?
I think, to me, the biggest thing is create content that you want to watch and you yourself would enjoy. Because to me, it's like, it's quite easy to just fall into the trends and such. And if you enjoy that, that's like something that's like what you like. That's like absolutely, like, you should go down that path. But for me, like, I felt that like my content, or what I liked watching, or what I felt was true to myself, was, like, day in the life vlogs and just fairly high quality production. And so that's what makes you sustainable. Like, if you truly enjoy what you're creating, that's all that really matters. And I guess if you want to get like big or something, then consistency is probably the biggest thing, which is something that I'm definitely working on as well. But those are probably my two things. And just start filming. I think just be at peace that the first few like videos that you make, 5 years, you look back and these are terrible, but at least you've started, and everyone starts somewhere. Like, when I made my first video, I thought it was amazing, and then I looked back at them like recently, I was like, this is terrible. I don't regret it at all. And
but the hardest thing is being self-critical, right? It's
exactly.
Like you do it the first time, and the same thing. Like, I'm trying to get a little bit of that sort of TikTok style uni content, not because I want to blow up, but because I want to push myself.
Yeah.
And same thing. Like, I've created pieces of content that when I've hit publish, I'm like, oh yeah, I nailed that. Yeah. And then I've come back 2 days later, I'm like, oh, it's too long, it's too this, it's too that. Like, the hardest critic is yourself quite often, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. But just, you never know who's watching as well, and who might get value out of something like this. Yeah, it's really like this journey that I've gone on in terms of creating content and just sharing my experiences as like getting into dentistry and everything. It's really mind-blowing like how many people have watched it, and it's a strange thing like at UWA specifically and in Australia specifically, but a lot of like Canadians, the dental degree is quite transferable. So I get a lot of like Canadian viewers, and I never would have thought in my wildest dreams like 3-4 years ago before I started that, 100 Canadian people just watching my content, or like people from across the world. So you really never know like who's watching and who's going to get value out of it, and how much you can kind of help someone unknowingly. And that's probably the most cool thing about this world we live in, where it's so easy to create content and have it distributed on like these platforms.
Yeah, it's very true, isn't it? It's like if you do your niche, just doing your niche is what eventually it's a much slower burn to grow, but it's also sustainable.
Exactly.
Because you're just incrementally growing your audience, and they come back for you because you match with them. Yeah. Just having one video that pops and gets 1 million views, well, kind of like shrug.
Yeah. It's great in the moment, I guess. But
it must be a buzz. I've had that happen.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I think that having that audience kind of grow with you over time is probably a lot more sustainable and builds a lot stronger connection with that. You kind of create your little like community, or like people who like really appreciate the content that you're putting out.
Where does storyteller Peter come from? To me, like, I find there's always some moment in our life where this stuff sort of switches on, or something just sparks and it comes about. So the example I give is like my love for travel. I worked this out only like 2 years ago. My grandma had pen friends from all around the world.
Yeah.
And at Christmas time, she had 100 Christmas cards on her wall, like on these rows of string across her wall from all the people sending her letters at Christmas time. And it took me, it was only like a couple of years ago I went, that's where my interest in international whatever came from. Because I was looking at these cards being like Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, New Zealand, blah, 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 blah. And then that's what made me curious about travel. Right. So I think these things have an origin story.
Awesome, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think to me it's just more, I want to, if I'm creating a piece of content, I want to make sure that the viewer feels involved in it, and then storytelling is the best way of doing that. Even if it's subtle, I don't think I set out to like storytelling. I think I could probably work on that, to be honest, in terms of being more set in like what the story is I'm telling. But I guess I'm really honored that you think storytelling. I guess for me it's more just trying to make things a bit more interesting or giving context to what I'm doing. That's probably the biggest thing.
I just think that people think I'm delivering something about a technical area.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's got to be dry, or it's just got to be the technical area. But one of the differences really is that there's always a story behind that. How you get to once again, the teeth whitening ones is the top of mind. But you sort of showed through that process, and you kind of talked about different things, and even just kind of like doing the before and after shots was really cool, because even just the like before and after is the moment of change, and stories are about moments of change. So that to me was why that really resonated.
I'm really honoured that that was to you, that's storytelling.
Of course, it is.
Yeah. I always appreciate like really good storytelling, and I'm just honoured that you think of that of my content as well.
So what I'm going to do, folks, if you're listening along at home, or if you're watching along on the video, I'm going to drop Peter's handle in the notes. Make sure you check it out, particularly if you're interested in dentistry, because it gives you like this little inside window into what life is like as a student studying this. But then also to some of the outcomes that you can see in the real humans that you're going to be dealing with day in, day out. And that, I feel, when it comes to, looping it back to choosing your uni, that to me is like the thing that's almost missing when so many of us go in and are looking for a degree, is actually having the feeling, right? But you really get it. If you're looking at some content, you get a feeling like, oh yeah, I'd like to do that. Rather than reading about it in the book where it also is quite technical. It's differently when you see the image in your mind.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something that I would have loved to see, going through when I was choosing as well, which is, I think that's not why I set out to do the channel, but I think that is a good byproduct. Like, if you're watching, you kind of see what life is like as a UWA dental student. Yeah.
You were saying you're coming up to you're in your final exams.
Yeah.
And this is the end of your last year?
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
What happens next? So final exam, maybe a few beers or a glass of wine, or just some chilling out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
and then what's next for you, mate?
I think I'm planning on heading back home over to Melbourne. My dad's offered me 2 days at his practice. It's a bit stingy of him, I'd say. It's not giving me the full time, but I've got to find other. I'm doing interviews, I guess, as well for other practices. If you're looking for a content creator / dentist in Melbourne, please hit me.
Content creation before the dentistry. It's awesome.
I'm not sure how practices would like that, but I promise I'm very good at dentistry as well.
But actually, sorry, just to jump in on that, and then we come back to your story about what's next. But I really believe that the next 5 years, in terms of what happens in our world, the digital world and that kind of stuff, trust is going to be the main asset out there, because, generative AI, blah, blah, blah. How do you know what's real and what's not? If anything can be generated as an image, text just comes out of nowhere. Like, it's about the people. Right? And that you trust certain people. And that's why I also think what you're doing with the content is, for any business that you might go and work for, mate, that is such an asset, because you are part of that brand, and they ups the level of trust. So that's why I think that's a mega asset to actually have in your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially with a profession like dentistry, where trust is such a big part, and patients have to trust you if they're willing to open up their mouth and let you treat them. I guess having this channel and them can see my personality and just seeing my face, they kind of can familiarize themselves with who I am, and if they like what they see, then they're more than might just add breaks down that early barrier of this is a dentist. Yeah,
and even later on, when you've got that content, depending on what the content is, but you can share that with your patients. Literally,
exactly,
you're about to go into this procedure or something. Yeah. Here's a piece of content that I've done, and you can see it being done on me. Yeah. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's incredibly reassuring for somebody to actually understand what's going on and see that you're an expert
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up though. Yeah, because especially with the improvements in AI and everything like that. Yeah, you're so right. It's not really something I've been thinking about it too much, but yeah, within the next 5 years, it's really gonna like what is real and what's not. Even with like dentistry, where especially aesthetic dentistry, a lot of it is like like rehabilitation of the mouth, and it's just interesting to see like you can really fake something like that and just pretend that's your work. It's an interesting field we're kind of entering. At the end of the day, I guess it's about building that trust and not breaking that as well. This personally and just as a profession, and yeah.
Knowing what you know now, Peter, and let's say about dentistry and UWA, looking back through your whole journey, what do you think would have been helpful to know way back when you were sort of starting to make those decisions about taking this?
I think for UWA specifically, living on college, I lived at St. Catherine's for the first year, and then I've lived at Uni Hall for the last 3 years, and that's been like an amazing experience. But I guess specifically, this is a bit very, very niche. But if you're looking at doing a postgraduate course at UWA, the University Hall has like these specific rooms that they're given to like postgraduate students, and it's a bit cheaper. And I think that's something that's really kind of improved my like living situation. I guess like it's a 1-bedroom apartment, so that's something I wish I knew like straight out of. I would have gone there straight away.
What about the degree?
I never really went into it thinking that it would be easy or anything, but it's definitely been, it's at times it's been more challenging, and at times it's been less challenging than I was expected. I guess when I was in undergrad, I was gunning for like high 80s because you have to have that kind of mindset, otherwise you're not going to get into like the postgrad that you want. And I thought, okay, when I get into dental school, I can just kind of cruise a little bit more, and you just have to essentially pass. But it turns out it's also really hard to just pass when you're in dental school. I've been okay, but it's you can't really rest on your lives. But in saying that, it is a lot less stressful. Like you just try and pass, rather than like obsess over like getting like one question wrong on a test.
Last question for you. So similar sort of vein, if you could go back and give some advice to like, let's say 17-year-old you.
Yeah.
So not the kind of like you're going to be okay kind of thing, but something really actionable.
Yeah.
Other than the St. Catherine's.
Yeah.
Oh, was it St. Catherine's? No, Uni Hall.
Yeah, Uni Hall.
Uni Hall. Outside of that, like something really, what would you go back and tell you?
Yeah.
Whisper in your ear.
I'd say
Melbourne Cup winner.
Yeah.
Not allowed to game that.
Yeah. I'd say for me, what's really helped me is take any opportunities that you get, and if it feels right in your heart, just go for it. Things like leadership opportunities, that's going to hold you in such good stead. If it scares you, it's probably the right thing. That's what I would give it. Yeah, just go and make that change. Go and don't be scared to move across the country, or go for that leadership position or something. People will talk. People will like kind of judge you maybe, but at the end of the day, to make the decision and be happy with it. Yeah, that's probably my advice.
Peter Nguyen, thank you for joining me on the Choosing Your Uni podcast.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Rob.
At Choosing Your Uni, our mission is to make finding your ideal institution and your degree fun, easy and stress-free. So if you're looking to save some time, to discover more and to get personalised advice for every step of your journey, check out choosingyouruni.com. Our theme music is composed by Pasha Shogi and his band Flow, and this episode has been researched and constructed on Garigal land in Sydney. Until next time, have yourself an awesome day.